Hey, my wonderful, wonderful, beautiful, 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 handsome, handsome people. A pleasant morning to you. Beautiful people, you know, I don't know, Jamaica itself needs counseling. It needs psychiatric help. I have to say it from that angle. Jamaica. Notice I didn't say Jamaicans. I said Jamaica needs counseling. Because perhaps if it gets counseling and certain psychiatric assistance, you know, it will filter out into the people, into the inhabitants of the country. I'm going to read something to you from the book of Timothy. 1 Timothy chapter 3, and this is verse 6. And this was either Paul or Timothy. Sometimes I can't remember which of the two. You know, for those who seek to be leaders in the church, and he was given a criteria to follow. But while giving the criteria, he had to come with a buffer, a caution. He said, and he's talking about men in particular, you know, he must not be a new convert, so that he will not behave stupidly and become conceited by appointment to this high office, and fall into the same condemnation incurred by the devil for his arrogance and pride. And this is in light of the Karate George's saga that took place in, I suppose, in fairly recent time. So I listened to a current police officer, you know, who seemed to be a veteran in the business, and I was listening to Georgie. I watched the video that took place. And so for those who may not know the story, so Georgie, he's now a retired police officer, but he still assists in terms of the building the nation. You know, so he's a supervisor manager in the municipal corporation in St. James's area, I think, that down that side. And so he was on duty or something of the sort. So he was driving in his private motor vehicle when he saw a vendor selling clothing or something like that. And he says, right here is a no vending area. So he stopped, you know, pulled over a little bit, stopped and said, it's a no vending area, and so on. While speaking to the vendor, he said briefly, some police officers came over, and he said the manner in which he approached him was not customer service friendly. It was very much aggressive and vociferous, and he went on. And he said to the police officer, I think the police officer told him to come out of the motor vehicle. And I guess as a old-time police officer, I don't get it. Maybe he was not trying to not follow, but he was asking, why would I need to come out of the vehicle? He said, tell you what, I see some police officers down there. I guess he pointed and he saw them in his purview, or the officers. He says, I'm going to speak with them and let them know what is happening here. So he said he went down to them, tell them that he works with the municipal corporation. This is what he's doing, and the police officers have stopped him and even demanded that he come out of the car. And he said that they came down and said they're going to arrest him. And he said, arrest me for what? You know, it's a traffic. It would be, let us say it was a violation. It would have been a traffic violation, which is non-arrestable. So what does your, you know, I guess he was basically saying, I've never said he said these words, but basically alluding to, what does your policy say? What does the policy say? By this time, he didn't introduce himself as a former police officer, or he, you know, whatever it is. So he's explaining that the man was in a no vending zone and so on, and you know, he briefly stopped and went on and on, and you know, then the man became even, you know, I saw when the police officer held on to that, you know, what you call the you know, the vest, the bright colored vest, and I saw him with the handcuffs. I'm going to arrest you, and the man you know, he kind of ease him off each time. And it went, you know, the altercation was verbal, but by the standards of what a police said to me, said if just pointing in a man's face is assault. So to grab onto the man's clothing for something that is not an arrestable charge is a breach of force policy. Please remember, police officers, you still have to be governed by the laws of the land. You are not above it. You carry out a portion, the basic. You can arrest and detain people and lock up people maybe for a day or two or whatever it is. The rest of it goes above you. The rest of it goes above you. The laws of the land in terms of the court system, the judiciary and et al. Are the ones who deal with same. And I want to put this caution in, police officers. Always remember that you will become a civilian once again. And people will remember how you made them feel. Always remember that. Always remember that what goes up comes back down in stronger force. So, you know, I saw another police officer, you know, bigger man, you know, when I say bigger man in terms of age, you know, came in his plain uniform, you know, asking what is happening there. They seem to know who this man is. Apparently he's a police officer. And, you know, I guess he went on to explain that this is, you know, so and so, former police officer. This is a man who used to help with crime fighting in a great way in the Montagonian area. And so on. This man, you know, somebody was saying to me, is a man who used to even dress up as a female to catch perpetrators. So this was a real good police officer back in the day. And I heard that vendors on everybody saying to the police officer, you know who this man is? And somebody, apparently while they were chanting that, one of the police officers said, I couldn't care less if he is a police, ex-police, he could even be the commissioner. Stop right there. So you're disrespecting the leader of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the commissioner. I call him the leader. I mean, you have his boss, which would be the Minister of National Security. So you are saying you could not care less. So if the commissioner was out there, not to say that the commissioner must not follow rules and regulation, if there is a breach, which it seemed as if there was not a breach by the standards of what one police officer said. And I know that just stopping somewhere briefly to say whatever to somebody could not be a breach. I remember stopping at a bus stop, dropping off somebody, but I think we engaged in a conversation too long, and police officers said to me years ago that you can't stop at a bus stop for maybe like any lengthy period. It would become a breach, because I guess I would be hindering, you know, public transportation that would come and need to stop there and so on. So you can stop. What he's saying, you can stop, but it has to be brief. And it is also, these things are not arrestable charge. It's not an arrest unless something becomes physical, or maybe the verbal exchange becomes extremely combative and it breaches something in the laws of the book, and in the laws, you know, in the laws, let's say it that way. What you mean you don't care if it's a commissioner? What you mean by police officer who is a new, it seems as if you're a young police officer by looking at you. What you mean? So what are you saying? You don't respect the commissioner? You don't respect your boss? Then if you don't respect your boss, what you're doing in the police business then? Because it therefore means if you don't respect your boss, you will be a nuisance to society. You'll be like a plague. Worse than the 10 plagues that came. Well, maybe not, because since it was sent by God. So you would be a plague. You have no use. You're lucky that your older colleague, which was on the side of Georges, said that you need to go back to training school. For me, they should tell you to come out. But we don't need to be that hard and draconian, because, you know, the Bible says, blessed are ye who is merciful, for you shall obtain mercy. You know, for those who want to change, for those who want to become better. So you don't believe that customer service is also part of your mantra? What do you mean if you don't care if the man is a commissioner? I'm defending that particular point. You know? What do you mean by that, police officer? You mean that you don't respect the commissioner? Because to utter that, you're going to say, because you're just so, what you're trying to say, it doesn't matter who you want to be. That's what you're really saying. I don't care if you're my boss, I will do the same thing to you. So you dangle the handcuff to your commissioner. I'd love to see you do it. I'd love to see you do it, police officer. You need to go more than training school. You need to get psychiatric help. And what they need to do is go back to the whole psychometric tests before just taking in police officers to say what the problem with this country is, that we revel in quantity as opposed to quality. The character of many of these people leaves much to be desired. That is why Paul or Timothy had to say, do not promote basically a new convert. It goes across the board. It's not just in church. Because they're going to become arrogant and conceited, like what happened with this police officer and others. Many of us have seen it and experienced it. What do you mean you couldn't care less if it's even the commissioner? You're rude and out of order and disrespectful, and they need to hold you accountable. Guys, you know what to do. Read TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe. Give me one of them lines.